Okay, hi. So we have a short reading lesson today. This is an HMH. This is a reading lesson that's based off of asking great readers ask questions. So you're going to have to take this out. We worked on it a little bit on week 1 last week, asking great questions. I don't remember what the story was that we read with it, but I do remember that we talked about asking questions before, during, and after reading. And I do remember that we filled out this page before reading, and we filled out the back during and after reading. What we did not do yet is the last page, and that's what we're working on today, where it says, what are your questions? So go to this page where it says, what are your questions? We're going to read the story, The Emperor's Egg by Martin Jenkins. So that's the title of the story. You're going to write that right here where it says title. You're going to write The Emperor's Egg. Okay, and then we'll talk about asking questions before. So go ahead and pause the video now as you are writing down the title of the story. Okay, as you're writing down the title, if you haven't finished, let's talk about questions we might have before reading. Just by looking at the title or the front of the page, what kind of questions can we ask before we start reading? Dominic? Okay, you think it's about an emperor penguin's chick. How can we make that into a question? We're trying to ask a question. Dustin? What's the what? Okay, what's the story going to be about? But we kind of already know that it's going to be about a penguin, right? Look at the picture. Who can come up with a better question? And Mariah? Okay, what are we going to learn about the emperor's chicks? Okay, I guess. There's better questions. Really look at the picture, guys. This takes a lot of critical thinking. Rena? Okay, is the story about emperor's penguins having babies? Very good. That's a good question. So let's write that down. Before we read, are we going to learn about emperor penguin babies? Let's write that down. Are we going to learn about emperor penguin babies? Okay, what's another question? Amaria? I'm sorry? Are the eggs going to crack? Okay, are the eggs going to crack? But we can kind of tell that they are, obviously, right? What's a better question? Bernaya? Okay, what do emperor babies look like? You could ask that, okay. What's a higher level thinking question, though? A harder question that we'd actually have to read to find out. Think about the weather. How's the weather like where penguins live, everyone?
Cold!
Cold. So, can you guys come up with a better question now? Haney? What's the main idea, or what's the story mostly going to be about? But we kind of already know it's going to be about an emperor penguin, right? Rena? She said, why do they live in the cold? But I think a better way to ask that is, how can they survive that cold, right? How can emperor penguins survive such cold weather? That's an excellent question. Let's write that down. How can emperor penguins survive such cold weather? We are learning about penguins this week, and we know that not all penguins live in such cold weather, right? Emperor penguins live in the coldest kind of weather. So how can an emperor penguin survive such cold weather? All right, so that's the second question. So my paper looks like this. If you want to copy it down, feel free. You can pause the video now. All right, let's go ahead and start listening to the story.
And illustrated by Jane Chapman. Down at the very bottom of the world, there's a huge island that's almost completely covered in snow and ice. It's called Antarctica, and it's the coldest, windiest place on Earth. The weather's bad enough there in summer, but in winter, it's really terrible. It's hard to imagine anything actually living there. But wait! What's that shape over there? It can't be. Yes!
What is it? What do you guys think? It's a penguin. So where do these penguins live? What's another question we can ask about Antarctica here while we're reading? Jasmine? Why is it so cold? Okay, what's another question we can ask? Maybe something we can actually answer by reading. Mariah? Okay, maybe she wants us to figure that out. But what's a question we can ask about what we just read? Amaria? How many penguins live in Antarctica? Why do penguins live in Antarctica? Okay, we asked that before. How about what other kind of animals can live in such cold weather, right? What other animals live in Antarctica? Wouldn't that be a good question? Let's write that down in during. What other animals live in Antarctica? All right. What other animals live in Antarctica is the next question we're going to write. All right, let's keep reading and find out what that little mysterious shape is out there.
You know what kind of bird lives in Antarctica? Let's see if you're right. It's a penguin. It's not just any old penguin either. It's a male emperor penguin, the biggest penguin in the world. And he's doing a very important job. He's taking care of his egg. He didn't lay it himself, of course. Did you know?
Male emperor penguins are about 4 feet tall. The females are a little smaller, but they're still pretty big. So who takes care of the egg? I'm sorry. Who takes care of the egg? The male or the female? The male. What does male mean? A man, the boy, okay? The dad. What does female mean? A girl, the mom. Okay, so here the male penguin takes care of the egg.
Know that emperor penguins are the tallest of all the penguin species? Male emperor penguins are about 4 feet tall, and the females are a little smaller. His mate did that a few weeks ago, but very soon afterwards she turned around and waddled off to sea.
What did his mate do? Before that she laid the egg. She laid the egg and she gave it to Dad to sit on and to make it warm and to take care of it. And then where did she go? She waddled off to the sea. What's a question we could ask here? Ooh, there's a lot of good questions here. Dustin? Very good. Why does the dad take care of the eggs and not the mom? That's a great question. Write that down if you'd like. That's a really good question. Dominic? Very good. Why did the female penguin leave her egg and go to the sea? That's another great question. Let's write some of those down. No, during. We're still reading. Okay, you don't have to write all those questions down. You can choose one. I'm going to write, why does the female penguin not take care of her egg? I'm also going to ask another one. I know there's only room for 2 questions, but I wrote small, so I have room for a third one. So my third question is going to be, why is she leaving her egg and going to the sea? Her egg and going to the sea. Okay, so this is how my question looks. You can copy that, or you can come up with your own. Okay, this is all during. Now, I won't stop again until after we read, so we can go ahead and fill out questions we have after we read the story. Okay? All right, let's keep going. What? Okay, just do it on a piece of paper, hon. All right.
That's where female emperor penguins spend most of the winter, swimming about, getting as fat as they can, eating as much as they can, and generally having a very nice time, as far as you can tell. Emperor penguins eat mainly fish, squid, and tiny shrimp-like animals called krill.
So why does the female waddle off to the sea? What does she do? She looks for food. Very good. And she tries to get as fat as she can be to bring that food back to her baby and to her family. Very good. Sorry, thanks.
Since they can't fly, their wings are more like flippers, making it easier for them to swim in the water. They can stay underwater for around 20 minutes at a time, which leaves the father penguin stuck on the ice with his egg. Now, the most important thing about egg sitting is to stop your egg from getting cold. That means it has to be kept off the ice and out of the wind. And what better way to do that than to rest it on your feet and tuck it right up under your tummy, which is just what the father penguin does. Inside the egg, a penguin chick is starting to grow. If the egg gets cold, the chick will not survive. But don't worry, the father penguin takes his job very seriously and will take good care of the egg. And
that's kind of like Happy Feet. How many of you guys have watched Happy Feet? Very good. Yes, that's exactly what happens. All right, let's keep reading.
That's how he'll stay for 2 whole months until his egg is ready to hatch. Can you imagine it? Standing around in the freezing cold with an egg on your feet for 2 whole months? Female emperor penguins lay 1 egg in May or June, which is the beginning of winter in Antarctica. What's more, there's nothing for the father penguin to eat on land. And because he's egg sitting, he can't go off to the sea to feed. So that means 2 whole months with an egg on your feet and no dinner, or breakfast, or lunch, or snacks. I don't know about you, but I'd be very, very miserable.
Why can't Dad go get something to eat? He's probably starving. Why, Jasmine? He has to take care of the egg. He can't move out of that spot or the egg is going to get cold, right? So he stays starving and cold for 2 whole months. That's a long time.
The male penguins can lose up to 40% of their body weight since they can't eat while egg sitting.
So they lose a lot of weight during that time.
Luckily, the penguins don't seem to mind too much. They have thick feathers and lots of fat under their skin to help keep them warm. And when it gets really cold and windy, they all snuggle up together and shuffle over the ice in a great big huddle.
Who thinks they know why they gather like that in a big fat huddle when it gets super cold? JC? Good, to keep each other warm, to protect each other from that cold wind. Very good, to keep their body heat. When they share the body heat, they warm each other up.
Most of the time, the huddle trundles along very, very slowly. In the center of the huddle is the warmest area, and the penguins in the middle switch places with the ones on the outside over and over again. But sometimes when the penguins get to a particularly slippery slope, they slide down and on their tummies, pushing themselves along with their flippers, always remembering to take care of their egg, and trying hard not to bump into each other. And that's how the father penguin spends the winter, until one day he hears a chip, chip, chip.
So Bernaya said, what about the egg? Where's the egg? The egg is in that little pouch right here inside of his, beneath his legs, right, his feet right there. So it's tucked in very safely. But if he bumps into another penguin, then it may fall out. So they just have to be careful.
Even though the males keep the egg tucked up tight under their tummies, when they slide, it sometimes rolls out and breaks. So they have to be very careful. His egg is starting to hatch. It takes a day or so, but finally, the egg cracks right open and out pops a penguin chick. Now the father penguin has two jobs to do. He has to keep the chick warm and he has to feed it. The chick is only about 6 inches tall at first and much too small to keep warm by itself. But on what? The chick is too small to be taken off to the sea to catch food, and it can't be left behind on the ice. Well, deep down in the father's penguin's throat, there's a pouch where he makes something a little like milk. And that's what he feeds to his hungry chick.
Aww. So what does he feed his hungry chick? Not throw up. It's like milk. That's all the way. It's not fish. It's kind of like milk. It's all the way in the bottom of the daddy's throat. That's very unusual, right? Usually mommies are the ones that feed their baby's milk, right? Very good. Where's mommy? She's still in the water trying to catch food for her family. Let's see.
The father penguin can make only enough of the milky stuff to feed his chick for a couple of weeks. But just as he's about to run out, a dot appears on the horizon. It gets closer and closer, and yes!
Who do you think it is? It's mommy. So he can only make that milk for a few weeks. If mommy doesn't ever come back and something in the sea eats her, what happens to the baby? The baby also dies because no one ever came back to feed him, and dad doesn't have enough milk to keep feeding him, right?
Do you know who it is? Let's find out. It's Mom. She starts trumpeting hello, and the father penguin starts trumpeting hello, and the chick whistles. The racket goes on for hours, and it really does sound as if they are extremely pleased to see each other. Every adult penguin has its own special call, like a fingerprint. Chicks have their own special whistle, too.
Wouldn't that be a great question? All emperor penguins look exactly the same, don't they?
Yeah.
So maybe a good question would be, how can they tell each other apart? Mama comes back, she sees all these male penguins with their babies. How does she know which one is hers?
Oh, it's because
Their whistle and their trumpeting call. Everyone has a unique whistle and trumpeting call that she can tell them apart.
It's the mother's turn to take care of the chick now, while the father sets off to the sea for a well-earned meal of his own. About time, too. As soon as things have calmed down, the mother penguin is sick, right into her chick's mouth. Yuck, you may think. Yum, thinks the chick, and
gobbles it all down. She's not sick. Another word for sick is vomit or throw up. So the mother penguin regurgitates or throws up the fish that she had stored in her tummy for her baby to eat. Right? And the baby gobbles it all down.
Gobbles it all down.
Where does daddy go? He goes to get food. It's his turn. He is starving.
The end. Did you learn some new interesting facts about emperor penguins? I know I sure did. There are all types of things you can learn from books, so keep reading and don't forget to subscribe to this channel.
Okay. All right. So what kind of questions can we come up with after we're done reading? I always call on the same people. I'm going to call on someone new. Amaria. What's a question we can ask ourselves after we're done reading? We already know that answer. How about this? I have a little cup here with names in it. Pull out a random name. Destin. No, I'm asking you to ask me a question. Okay, why does the dad stay with the baby? To take care of him. We already know the answer to that. What's a question we don't really know the answer to that we can continue to ask? The after questions are normally the hardest. And Mariah. Okay, not all day, for months. So why does the dad take care of the baby? We already said that, to help the baby grow because mom needs to go get food. What's a question that we don't know the answer to? JC? Very good. Why doesn't the baby chick chirp like the parents? That's a good question. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. We don't know. That's a great question. You can write that down. Brenaya, what's your question? Does every chick have their own unique call? That's a really good question. You can write that down too. Dustin, what's your question? Dominic, sorry. Very good. That's a great question. That's what I was going to ask. How does the dad make the milk? Why does he run out of it? How does he make it? How come he runs out of it? Can't he just make more? That's a great question. That's a great question. I'm going to write that question down. Just sound it out, hon. How does the dad make the milk to feed his baby? Why can't he make more? That's a great question. That's a good one. All right, we asked many good questions. The last question on here says, did asking questions help you understand the story better? Did it help you understand the story better? Yes. Why? Yes, because we can check our understanding. We can check our understanding. Standing about Emperor penguins. Okay. So, yes, because we can check for understanding about Emperor penguins. You can pause the video now if you want to write that down. Okay, that concludes our lesson. So when you're done with this, onliners, take a picture and turn it in to me, please. I'm going to make this lesson due on Monday. You have the weekend to work on it too, because I'm assigning it to you a little later than everyone else, okay? So, and I know you already have a lot of work for Friday. So if you want to work on this on Monday, over the weekend, and turn it on Monday, you can do that too. All right, have fun learning, and I'll see you later.